I always believed our marriage was built on sacrifice. I worked late, saved every rupee, tightened every screw of my life just so we could afford the land we both dreamed of. I thought our fights were about money, priorities, or the future. But the truth was far more sinister. She wasn't stressed, she was cheating. And when I uncovered her affair, she didn't panic, apologize, or even pretend to be ashamed. Instead, she calmly began planning something else, my death. A staged, hunting accident. An insurance payout. And the land I refused to sell. I tried to walk away quietly, hoping distance would keep me alive. But people like her don't stop when their plans fail, they double down. And soon, I found myself trapped in a game that had only one rule. If I wanted to survive, I had to be colder than the person trying to kill me. I always thought marriages broke slowly, cracks forming over years, tiny resentments piling up like dust in forgotten corners. But in my case, the end didn't creep in gradually. It arrived like a storm, violent and sudden, tearing everything apart before I even understood what was happening. Looking back, the signs were there. The late-night work calls. The sudden interest in dressing up just to run errands. The hours she spent on her phone, smiling at a screen that never included me. I didn't see any of it then. I was blinded by love, or maybe just loyalty. Every time things felt off, I reminded myself that we were struggling financially. The land dispute, the debts, the mounting pressure. I blamed those for every sharp tone, every cold shoulder, every night she rolled to the far edge of the bed. But betrayal has a smell. It leaks through the cracks no matter how tightly you seal them. The first real clue came on a rainy evening. I came home early after a cancelled meeting. When I opened the door, I saw her on the balcony. She didn't realize I was behind her. She was on the phone, playing with her hair and laughing. Not a polite laugh, one of those soft, breathy, intimate laughs I hadn't heard from her in years. The sound hit me like a punch. But I told myself I was imagining things. I walked in, pretended I heard nothing, and she hung up quickly like a kid caught stealing candy. Her smile vanished, replaced by the usual irritation she saved specially for me. I should have asked questions then. Instead, I made dinner. The real truth revealed itself like a bucket of ice water across my face one morning when she left her phone unlocked. A message preview lit up the screen. Can't wait to see you alone. He's working late, right? I froze. My throat tightened, my hands went numb, and my breath caught somewhere between rage and heartbreak. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need more proof. The preview was enough. It told me everything, the lies, the secrecy, the distance. But even then, some desperate, pathetic part of me hoped it was a misunderstanding. So I waited. I pretended nothing was wrong. I kissed her forehead when I left for work. I tried being sweeter, more patient, more affectionate, as if being a better husband could erase her decision to betray me. But betrayal is a commitment. Once someone chooses it, they rarely turn back. The day everything exploded was a Sunday. I remember it clearly because she insisted I go visit an old friend who lived across town. She pushed it so hard that it immediately felt wrong. But I acted like I agreed, walked out the door, and simply sat in my car. 10 minutes later, I walked back inside. I don't know what I expected. Maybe they'd be talking. Maybe she'd be on a call. Maybe I'd catch something subtle, some flirtation, some hint. But no. I wasn't that lucky. I walked into my own bedroom and found them together. On my bed. Under my blanket. Laughing like they owned the place. They didn't even hear me enter. I remember standing there, frozen, like my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Betrayal feels physical, not emotional. It hits your stomach, pulls something out of your spine, leaves your legs shaking. When they finally noticed me, the room went silent. Her lover jumped up in panic, grabbing clothes, stumbling over words. But she didn't panic at all. She just sat up slowly, wrapped the sheet around herself, and looked at me with an expression I will never forget. Annoyance. Not guilt. Annoyance. Like I was inconveniencing her. Don't make a scene, she said. Don't make a scene. In my own house. In my own bedroom. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even ask why. I just walked out. I think that confused her more than anything. I spent days replaying everything in my mind, her actions, her expressions, her coldness. I wondered where I went wrong, what I did to deserve it. But the more I thought, the clearer it became, her affair wasn't emotional. It wasn't passion. It wasn't about love. It was about opportunity. Her lover had money. Influence. Connections she wanted. And I had something she wanted even more, the land my father left me. Land she insisted we sell. Land she pushed for constantly. Land I refused to give up, no matter how tight things became. I thought she was frustrated by my stubbornness. But she was simply impatient. And the day I confronted her, tried to talk about ending things, was the day I realized she wasn't done destroying me. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She didn't even pretend to regret what happened. She just said, calmly, almost bored. You're making this harder than it needs to be. And then she walked out of the room. 2 nights later, I overheard something that chilled me to the bone. She was on the phone again. I stood quietly in the hallway, listening as her voice floated through the crack in the door. No, he won't fight back. Yes, the policy covers accidents. He goes hunting every winter. It'll look natural. Yes, we'll sell the land afterward. My heart stopped. She wasn't planning a divorce. She was planning a funeral. Mine. At first, I thought I misheard. That my mind, poisoned by heartbreak, was exaggerating. But then she said. He trusts me. He won't suspect anything. And that was it. The last shred of denial I had left dissolved. She was planning an accident. A perfect little tragedy. A clean story for the police. A fat insurance payout. And a fresh start with her lover. I didn't wait for more. I packed a bag, took my documents, and walked out of the house before she could return. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I disappeared, hoping distance would keep me alive. But I underestimated her desperation. People don't give up on plans that involve millions. The first threat was subtle, a message slipped under the door of the room I rented. Come home. We need to talk. Talk. No chance. The second threat came 3 days later, a car following me late at night. The same model her lover drove. The third threat was blunt, a call from an unknown number, a whispered warning. You can't hide forever. I realized then that running wouldn't save me. No matter where I went, they would keep coming. So I stopped being afraid. Stopped being the victim. Stopped being the one who reacted. If they wanted a game, I would give them one. But on my terms. Cold. Calculated. Unpredictable. I was done running. Now, I would become the hunter. When I finally decided to stop running, the world around me felt strangely silent, like everything was pausing, waiting for my next move. Fear had burned out of me, leaving behind something sharper, colder, more dangerous. I realized that if I wanted to survive, I couldn't just defend myself. I had to strike first. The woman I once loved had thrown away every bit of humanity she had left. She saw me as an obstacle between her and the money she wanted. And obstacles, in her world, were meant to be removed. Fine. Let her see what happens when the obstacle fights back. I started with the land, the same land she was willing to kill me for. It wasn't just valuable, it held something far more important, a route only I knew. An old hunting trail, forgotten by most people, isolated and perfect for disappearing from sight. Or for making someone else disappear. I visited the place at night, walking through the trees with a flashlight, drawing the map of my revenge in my mind. The trail twisted like a snake, narrow and deep, ending at a cliffside drop people rarely approached. It was scenic. Peaceful. Deceptive. The perfect location for what was coming. In movies, revenge is heat and rage. In real life, it's ice. It's patience. It's silence. And I had learned silence. I didn't contact her. I contacted him, her lover. I knew his weakness, arrogance. Every man who helps destroy someone's home believes he's invincible, untouchable, smarter than the victim. So I made myself look like prey. I sent him a single message from an unknown number. I know everything. Meet me. Alone. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. Arrogant men always assume the world revolves around them. 5 minutes later, he replied. Where? Hook set. I chose the old trail, not the cliffside part, but the forest entrance. A place familiar enough that I could claim I wanted a private conversation, yet remote enough that what would happen next would never be discovered by accident. To make it believable, I pretended to be weak, scared, desperate. Sent another message. Please. I just want to disappear. Help me. He swallowed the lie without hesitation. Because greedy men always help if they think they'll profit from someone else's downfall. And he did. By the time I finished setting the bait, he was convinced he was the hunter and I was the wounded animal. I smiled. Perfect. Now I needed her. She didn't respond to messages. She didn't threaten me directly. But she followed the trail I left on purpose, financial footprints, bank alerts, location pings that looked like accidents but weren't. I wanted her angry. Frustrated. On edge. That's how you make a predator careless. So I accidentally withdrew money near the trail entrance. I knew she would track it. And she did. Exactly on time. 2 predators walking into the same forest. But only one would walk out. Maybe none. He arrived first. Arrogant. Confident. Certain he was the mastermind. He stepped out of his car with a flashlight and a pistol tucked into his waistband, barely hidden, as if he wanted me to know he had it. Good. Let him feel strong. He walked toward me like he was approaching a trapped animal. But I was the one who chose the trap. You wanted to talk, he asked. I nodded. I want this over. Smart, he said. We can help you disappear. Permanently. The threat was obvious. Too obvious. I let him talk, let him boast, let him feel victorious. People like him reveal their entire plan when they think they're winning. He bragged about how she pushed for the insurance policy. How she planned the accident. How they would inherit everything once I was gone. He talked too much. He always had. And then I heard footsteps behind us. She arrived. Her face looked carved from stone, cold, calculating, emotionless. She walked like a woman stepping into a boardroom, not a forest. So, she said, you finally stopped running. I looked at both of them. No, I said quietly. I finally started planning. She was smart. He was violent. Both dangerous. But they didn't know the forest like I did. He took a step forward, reaching for the pistol. She didn't stop him. Of course she didn't. He was the weapon. She was the brains. Typical. He lifted the gun toward me, but I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at the forest floor. And I stepped backward. 1 step. Onto the trigger wire I had set 2 hours earlier. A booby trap, simple, silent, lethal. A mechanism used on hunting trails for wild boar. But tonight, it wasn't for animals. The trap snapped. A metal spike swung low from the side, hitting his knee like a hammer. He screamed and collapsed, the gun flying out of his hand. She jumped back in panic. That was new. She never panicked. I reached the gun before either of them. Suddenly, the power shifted. They felt it. I saw it in their eyes. She raised her hands slowly, calculating her next move. He was screaming, crawling, bleeding. "We can fix this," she said carefully. Her voice softened. The same voice she once used to tell me she loved me. "No," I said. "You can't. People think revenge is impulsive. Chaos. Rage. It's not. It's discipline." I kicked the injured man onto the narrow path, the one leading to the cliffside drop. He slid down the slope, screaming in agony. She lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "Stop. Let's end this. Please." I looked at her hand. A wedding ring still on her finger. A ring she didn't deserve. I pulled my arm away and stepped back. "You planned to kill me," I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. "And you ran," she said. "You were supposed to run forever." I smiled softly. "I only ran so I could choose the battlefield." Her eyes widened slightly. That was the moment she understood. She wasn't the hunter anymore. I was. I walked toward him slowly. He was struggling to stand. Blood everywhere. Fear replacing arrogance. "No, wait, listen," he stuttered. I didn't. I kicked him once, hard, sending him sliding the last few feet down the slope toward the cliff. He hung on by one hand, screaming, begging. She screamed his name and ran toward him. And that's when I delivered the last line she would ever hear from me. "This was the hunting accident you wanted." Then I stepped on his fingers. He fell. His body vanished into the darkness below. Silence. The forest swallowed him whole. She froze. Her breath shaking. For the first time, I saw pure terror in her eyes. Good. She turned to run. I didn't chase her, not immediately. I let her sprint blindly through the forest, her feet stumbling, branches cutting her skin, panic clouding her decisions. Some people die fast. She deserved slow. When she reached the edge of the cliff, the same deadly drop, she turned around to see me behind her. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "You're right," I said. "I don't have to." She exhaled in relief. Then I added. "But I want to." Her expression cracked. Fear poured through it. She backed up instinctively. 1 step. 2. 3. The ground crumbled behind her. She slipped. Her scream echoed across the valley before disappearing into nothingness. Another silence. A deeper one. The kind that closes a chapter forever. I didn't run. Why would I? Their disappearance looked exactly like what they wanted mine to look like, an accident. A tragic misstep during a nighttime fight on the cliffs. A lover's quarrel. A struggle gone wrong. Their phone records, messages, and insurance plans told the rest of the story. When the police questioned me, I simply told the truth, with strategic omissions. They followed me here. They attacked me. I tried to escape. They slipped. I didn't have to lie. I just had to leave out how much planning it took to make it happen. The investigation ended quickly. And I walked away the same way I walked in. Alive. But different. Colder. Calmer. More aware of what people are capable of. And of what I am capable of. The land remains mine. The silence remains mine. My life remains mine. And for the first time since the betrayal, I can finally breathe again.